Around 8:30 tomorrow morning, these doors behind me will officially open to the public, and Billings will have a brand new wholesale store. Our top story tonight, hunters headed out early this morning in search of deer and elk as big game hunting season kicked off. So there's a close-up look at the new Billings Food Bank, but you can get a tour yourself if you just come on down, donate some food. New information tonight on the boat accident that injured Montana Congressman Denny Reberg.
To us on Thursday.
Yeah, no kidding, beautiful forecast. And that will play in very well for spring sports.
Indeed.
But establishing a 30-foot distance between a smoking area and a public entrance could be in the works. Last night's power outage that knocked out electricity throughout Yellowstone Valley was caused by a circuit breaker. There is still glass scattered on the sidewalk, but about 2 hours before last night's fatal accident, Billings police responded to 2302 Alderson Avenue. At this hour and through the weekend, Montana Highway Patrol is urging people to avoid traveling if possible. Come out here, donate your food, and you can also take a spin on the turkey spin and see if you get a nice prize.
This week looking pretty good, Angela.
It is looking very nice, and it's good that we're getting some rain.
Yeah, we need some moisture again, that is true.
Yeah, all right, thanks, Rob.
McKinley School, this is Sally.
It was a busy day for secretaries throughout Billings School District 2.
Hi, Sally. It's Alexis. Just wondering if we had school today. Thank you. Bye.
Sorry, kiddo. School's still on, but there were some other cancellations. Nope, not because of the snow. You can blame Old Man Winter combined with diesel engines for this one.
Initially, the report was that the majority of buses, 90% of the buses, would not be available for the routes. So I made the decision to cancel all the routes.
But during that decision-making time, a number of buses had already hit the road.
We ended up with 14 of those buses shutting down and becoming stranded.
Knowing that it was already pretty late in the morning, School District 2 put their automated calling system to work. But turns out that just added to the chaos.
We activated that to notify all parents as quickly as we could, even though it was a bit late.
I just got an automated call from McKinley, but there was no message, so I don't know what the call was about.
And for the first time, since we've had that system up and running, it decided not to work the first 3 times.
The late and confusing message left many students out in the cold in sub-zero temps, waiting for a bus that never came, a situation COPS says is inexcusable.
It's my understanding that we really did know that we were having this fuel problem probably around 6 o'clock, maybe even at 5:30, but I was not notified of the problem until 7. I'm just apologetic for the lack of communications here, but we need to figure out how to fix this.
But First Student has a different story and says they didn't realize how bad their situation was until just before 7.
About a quarter of the fleet was on the road with no issue when we did discover the severity of the problem on our lot. Once we determined the issue, it's about 6:45 this morning, and we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience that this caused to both students and parents.
Buses were back up and running by the end of the school day. In Billings with photographer Paul Humphrey, I'm Angela Douglas for Montana's news station. With a population around 800, the Bridger community leads a quiet life. But Monday night, that all changed when the 200 block of South 2nd Street was taped off and became the scene of a homicide-suicide.
I was shocked to hear the news just because stuff like this just doesn't happen around here.
To lose somebody that was such an attribute to a small community like this one is just shocking.
Authorities say 20-year-old Ryan Webster of Bridger was gunned down by 19-year-old Joshua Brown of Red Lodge. Carbon County Attorney Alex Nixon says after shooting and killing Webster, Brown turned the gun on himself. He died while being transported to a Billings hospital. Soon after the shooting, word spread like wildfire as friends and family were notified of the tragedy.
Ryan was probably one of the most funniest people I've ever met in my life. He always had a smile on his face. He'd always put a smile on everybody else's face.
He had a lot to give back to the community. He never complained about anything. He always was a hard worker.
Friends of the victim claimed the dispute was over a girl, something many find hard to believe.
Ryan was always, faithful and loyal to everybody, and I just don't think that he would put himself in a situation like that willingly.
Kind of shocked. I just never saw him being the one to be targeted that way. And it's very tragic for his family. It's very tragic for his friends. It's very tragic for a small community like this one.
It's a huge tragedy in this town. Ryan will be greatly missed.
While the entire Bridger community mourns the death of one of its own, authorities investigating the shooting are keeping a tight lip. In Bridger with photographer Paul Humphrey, I'm Angela Douglas for Montana's news station. Climbing ice is a sport for those who aren't fazed by the idea of trusting ice with their life, and for those who don't mind a chilly outing.
I like the challenge of it. It's really challenging. It kind of pushes me to my limits.
Being out here in the middle of nowhere and climbing ice is it's fantastic.
But first, some pointers.
Use your legs, really get comfortable, break a tool loose, and find your next placement and then move on it.
Trying to trust your feet is a big challenge, and making sure that you have good holds and that the ice doesn't break free.
For the past 12 years, Don Foote and a handful of other experienced climbers have been hooking the attention of new climbing enthusiasts during the Cody Ice Festival.
The South Fork is a mecca of ice climbing in the lower 48 states. Everything is natural, it's not man-made, and you get to hike outdoors and get to see wildlife.
It's really cool that you just come out of these into the canyon and it's just all brush, and then all of a sudden right around the corner there's this huge ice fall that you get to climb.
Fed by a natural water source seeping through the rock, these bluish slabs of ice are constantly replenished as water trickles down the icy monument.
It's frozen water, so it changes hour by hour, day by day, week by week. You never know what you're going to get.
Ice forms differently every year, and so even though you've been to one thing one year, you end up going back the next, and it's incredible.
In an effort to understand the madness behind ice climbing, I grabbed my axes, secured my crampons, and embraced the ice.
Flick with your wrist.
With a few crucial pointers of kicking with the heel down and flicking your wrist, all of a sudden I become one with the slab.
Oh, you're good.
Well, I might have gone a bit far with that one, but as a beginner, it wasn't nearly as scary as one would think.
Touch the beaner. Nice. That a girl. But it kind of tells you a lot about yourself and like how much trust you have in yourself and how much trust you have in your belayer and how much trust you have in a piece of ice and an axe.
I think everybody's probably a little scared of it. They think ice is very fragile and it would break and how's it going to hold you, but I think the key is you have to understand that there's so much surface area that the ice covers, and it's very strong.
Yes, the ice is strong, but it can be deadly if not respected. The sport takes experience, skill, proper equipment, and knowledge of safe climbing conditions. Because of this, Foote has kept the Cody Ice Festival going for more than a decade.
It's kind of a self-gratification to keep the sport of ice climbing alive in Cody, Wyoming, and let people know about this place.
I think it's a great sport that I don't think people necessarily completely understand, and so the more people we can get into the sport, the better.
A sport that, pretty much by definition, is an adventure.
Oh yeah!
In Cody, I'm Angela Douglas for Montana's news station.